Good evening. I'm going to call the November 15th meeting of the school committee to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Some minor edits to the agenda. We are going to swap items 4A and 4B out of deference to the length of the presentation for 4B. We're going to remove item 6A and we're going to remove item 8.
Great.
Any other additions or subtractions? Wonderful. Is anyone here for citizens speak? No? Excellent. All right, Superintendent.
Thank you, Chairman Donahue. First, we'd like to invite to the table A.J. Milton and Ben Kelly. A.J. Milton is our Education Technology Director, and Ben Kelly is our esteemed Vice Principal at Milton High School. And A.J. presented at Finance Subcommittee, Dr. Craighead, and it was very impressive. We had several presentations, and we said we think the school committee should hear this presentation and understand the kind of dialogue that's going on in the district. So welcome, and thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you for having us. We greatly appreciate it. So this is our 9th grade one-to-one Chromebook initiative, and this goes on top of what Bob Patterson and I presented on September 27th with a little bit more depth and substance to it. So I first just want to start with a timeline. So back in September, I was asked to be part of the Strategic Planning Committee, and from that Strategic Planning Committee, we decided that we needed to have a technology task force. And so we got all of our members together. We've had 4 very productive meetings since we have established the technology task force. Our first priority was deciding what school systems in the district to research. And through our research, what we wanted to do is find out everything we can, what devices they chose, how they rolled it out, what went well, what professional development, what didn't go well. And we had some great conversations with the districts, found out a whole lot of information to move us forward. From there, what we did was we put together a list of experts in the field of educational technology. And Steve Paxia, one of our members and a parent, developed a letter that's going to be mailed out to all of these experts to make sure that we are on the right path, and then looking forward, what we need to be looking at. I conducted a needs assessment for all of the staff in the public schools, and I also completed a survey with our alumni. From there, we decided that we had to create some subcommittees to really help us. And so we have a few meetings with our 9th grade one-to-one committee. We have a digital learning committee, an assistive technology committee, instructional development, an apps team, and a technical support team. And so now in November, we've received plenty of quotes back from vendors. We've received feedback from department chairs, currently receiving feedback from teachers. And so our next step is that we are going to have a proposal from the 9th grade committee to the technology task force on December 1st. And I'll go more into that in a few slides. So as part of the strategic planning committee, the technology aspect, what we did was we devised initiatives. And our initiatives line up with 2 school committee goals, 2B and 6, with utilizing differentiated instruction practices to increase rigor in the high school, and also creating our K-12 technology plan. So our initiatives include increased student achievement in teaching practices utilizing technology, increase the awareness of triumphs and challenges associated with becoming a one-to-one school district, increase the use of current educational technology trends, increase awareness of students' responsibility of becoming a safe and ethical digital citizen, and integrate the use of technology to better differentiate and personalize learning. And so that leads us to the proposal. And so what we did was we looked at both purchase and lease options options for our 300 devices. That has not changed since September 27th, when Bob Patterson and I came in and presented that to you, where we're looking for 300 Chromebooks, 10 charging carts, and to purchase it'll be $110,000, and for a 3-year lease it would be $117,709.92. All of the committee members for all the different committees that we've met so far have all agreed 100% that leasing just should not even be an option, but we wanted to explore just to make sure we covered all of our bases to realize that's the direction we should go with purchasing. The infrastructure that we currently have in place is totally acceptable and can support our initiative. However, in the capital budget for this year that Bob Patterson articulated to you all on the September 27th meeting, that we will be adding additional access points in the high traffic areas of the auditorium, the cafeteria, and also the library. And we will also need to have single sign-on so that when students have the new device that they will sign in and we will be able to monitor all the activity that there's taken place. And also we'll be able to filter what they can and cannot access on the web. And so this leads us to our 2 routes. And when I went back to saying that the 9th grade team, they're going to be proposing something to the technology task force, this is what I was referring to. Do we want to do a 9th grade one-to-one with the 300 devices, or do we want to do a bring your own device? And so with the 9th grade one-to-one, again, purchasing the 300 devices, 10 charging carts, they would stay in the 9th grade classrooms. And when they need to be wheeled to, whether it's an elective classroom or somewhere else from there, they can be. And we would roll up each year, 9th grade, then 10th grade, so that fall of 2021, all of MHS would be one-to-one. And as a result from that, Pierce would then also be one-to-one because we would move some devices, older devices, down to Pierce, making them one-to-one. And this would include a continuous commitment from the Milton Public Schools to make this happen. On the right-hand side, we have bring your own device, where again, we're still looking for the 300 devices, and those 300 devices would be for students who cannot afford or do not have a device that they're being allowed to have brought in to the school system. And so those devices would be loaned out to those students. And if we went in this route, by next fall, all of MHS would then be one-to-one. And so I did a little survey to quickly find out how many students would actually have a device that they could bring in other than a cell phone. And 64.8% of the people surveyed, 392 students responded, said that they have a device that they would be able to bring in. And so with that though, if we choose to go the bring your own device route, we were thinking that this number will increase. Because once the parents, guardians find out that this is what we're doing, they may be more apt, maybe have the students asking, whether it's for a birthday or some other event, that they would be requesting, hey, do you think I could have one bought for myself?
It's worth noting on our subcommittee, the one-to-one subcommittee that AJ's formed, we have teachers from all departments, and right now in our meetings we're currently exploring the pros and cons of both of these different routes. And in addition, the survey that AJ did, we got almost 400 responses from the students. We did it in school, so hopefully we eliminated some biases, students who might not have a device not being able to respond. So we were trying to be cognizant of that and make sure we got a representative sample. That number could certainly fluctuate. We've talked about that with our team as well. But we do tend to think that percentage will rise of those who are able to bring a device to school.
And so our rationale behind why we need these devices and why we need this one-to-one initiative. First, it's going to improve student achievement. And we'll be able to close that achievement gap. We'll be able to better personalize the learning that's going on. Our students will become college and career ready. And I have the results of the alumni in the upcoming slides. We can focus on student-centered learning. The students will become better digital citizens, because we will have this curriculum that we'll embed, and they'll have a seamless transition from that. And also we'll have assistive technology, so level the playing field, better be able to level the playing field for the students who need support, and also better push the high flyers who need to go above and beyond. and then improving instructional practices. This will truly revolutionize the way teachers will teach. We're going to be moving from having teachers presenting and lecturing to more being facilitators. And so once again, they're going to be able to personalize this learning. So if you can envision a math teacher who's going to, maybe they're going to narrate a PowerPoint with the steps of how to solve a problem, to posting videos, whether it's Khan Academy or something of that nature, or maybe it's a student from a higher level or a senior doing a senior project that's going to go through step by step how to do a math problem. And these are all posted for the web so that the students can then go and, whether it's the portal or it's Google Classroom, and they'll access and decide for themselves which way they best learn. And then the teacher will be walking around facilitating and helping and supporting. Or maybe it's in English language arts class where the teachers are now giving voice feedback and leaving voice notes for a research paper or any type of paper that they're writing that's now electronic. And so the process will be the whole write and reflect and then write some more. And again, it'll be the teachers who are doing this throughout the whole entire process so that there's constant feedback. And this will in turn help the teachers with their grading. At the end of the paper, if they're doing this approach, they can know exactly where the student falls. And so that will really help out. It will also help out with interdisciplinary units. We'll be able to embed STEM throughout all of the units that we have. It'll help increase our ability to use project-based learning, where we have these projects that relate to the real world. It's going to truly empower, the students. I was in observing a teacher today who is teaching, and their whole entire lesson, they were just empowering the student by asking them little questions that they then had to go figure out the answer to that was going to help them lead to solve the problem that they had, and it was exceptional. And lastly with this, having data instantly with formative assessments, because they're having the use of technology. So whether it's through a Google form or a Kahoot or something of that nature using the web, instantly the teachers can find out where the students fall and where they need to adapt and change their lessons to meet the needs of all students. With MCAS, we're all going electronics. This will help prepare our students better. As I mentioned before, we can help create better digital citizens, and we're going to prepare our students for college and beyond.
All of these things are items that we've been working on, and you may be asking why now, why the push now when we've been adding Chromebooks to the high school and many of our schools bit by bit each year. We currently have 541 devices, Chromebooks, tablets, that we're able to use, and we've gotten to the point now where we can no longer schedule technology like it's a separate class or that it's a separate entity from regular everyday learning. We book our Chromebook carts through the library and the departments every day, every period. If you take a look at our schedule, it's people fighting for those carts because they can't afford to not have them in their classrooms. We have a couple teachers who have now gone paperless, which is incredible to see. One of them I was in just the other day. Our engineering teacher has gone completely paperless with the two classes. So they rely very heavily on a Chromebook cart every single day. So while we've been working on all of these over the past few years, the time has come to make sure that every one of our students can access a device whenever they need to.
So I've been through a lot of these already of ways to incorporate one-to-one devices. Interactive reviews, again, having project-based learning, so that implementing projects that relate to the real world, making all of our lessons interactive. The students can collaborate on everything and anything that they're working on. It's going to better prepare them for MCAS. They're going to be able to research beyond just the textbook at any point because they have these devices in hand. In our math and our social studies departments already have electronic virtual textbooks. And of course, our students can go on virtual field trips. So this is more evidence of why we need this one-to-one device. And these are all from our alumni survey. So I asked the students, graduates, what percentage of your assignments are submitted electronically? And over 78% have 75 to 100% of their assignments submitted electronically. And so with all of our devices, our students will be submitting their assignments electronically as well. And then I asked what technology should be used at MHS to better prepare students for college. And 70.5 said Google Drive, which Google Drive and Google Classroom work together. 53.1 said a Milton PS email. 50% said Microsoft Office. 27.5 said Google Classroom. And 22.2 said a variety of Web 2.0 tools. Then I just flat out asked them, do you believe that MHS should be a one-to-one school, and would it help them better prepare students for college or their first job? And 61.6 said yes. And then these next two slides that we have, I'm not going to read them. You can read through them in your notes. These are just the last question I asked them was, would they like to share anything about technology? And so these were 2 pages, 2 slides worth of some of the results that they have. Just further evidence of why we need to go one-to-one. And then finally, what other school systems are saying. As I said, we researched over, I believe, 13 school districts from the surrounding communities who already have one-to-one initiatives. And they said digital feedback is a total game changer. With East Bridgewater, they had to recall their devices, and their teachers are absolutely lost at this point. They don't even know how to teach. That's how much of a game changer it is. Assessing online with these formative assessments, they have instant access to where the students need more support, where they need to alter their instruction, and so they really truly personalize their learning. And teachers are becoming facilitators. They're using stations, they're using project-based learning. They said in English language arts that writing process has been revolutionized. The write, revise, reflect, and the teachers are providing more powerful feedback. Through, a lot of it is through voice narration that they're giving throughout the process. In history, they're producing more artifacts other than essays, videos, and different ways of representing what they've learned other than just a research paper. In math, they gave some examples using Desmos and Geographa and different types of formative assessments. And in world languages, having the voice recordings, the teachers recording the correct pronunciations, the students recording themselves, and then being assessed through that way. Does anyone have any questions for us?
I have a quick, what is that thumping noise? Does anyone know? I just was wondering.
Jazz band.
Is it really? Okay, sorry. I thought it was the
I thought it was like
technology
something
in here.
dripping,
I'm
like
sorry.
water,
Yeah, yeah.
drip, 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 drip.
I just have a great, thank you, a great presentation. I just was wondering, to go back to the 2 routes or routes that you would do. So if it's, with the bring your own device, would it be anything? So it wouldn't be a Chromebook, like some people have an iPad, some people have a Chromebook. It wouldn't make a difference. It doesn't all have to be Chromebooks, right?
Correct. Doesn't
Okay.
have to be Chromebooks.
And then, just as a follow-up to that, how do you feel, I'm just always thinking about the equity issue that, yeah, if 78% of the kids can bring them in, they have them, but then some families who can't, do you think that'll be, I know that's one of the issues why you don't go that route, and you just
Right.
but we have to wait longer until everybody's up to speed. So how would you handle that, or how have you handled that in the past, or do you think that would be that big of an issue, or maybe it's 2017 that won't happen?
I think we're going to learn a lot from the first year of doing this, bringing in 300 more devices. And keep in mind that the school already has 541 working ones. So in total, we're going to be, even if we go BYOD, we would be able to supply some 800 students out of our 1,000,
Yeah, so
1,020 that may need a device. I think that's worst case scenario, really, but I don't think, even if our percentage in the survey is way off and it's 50-50, I think we're going to be more than covered to supply anybody who asks with a device.
Okay, great.
But, and would you share, if I just might, just to follow up, would you share with Member Varela about the cover, what you
Oh,
were
yeah.
sharing with us? I'm sorry, Dr.
That's
Sure.
what I was getting to, is I think
Oh, we
Sheila
both
might have
heard
been
that.
asking something slightly different, yes.
We
Yeah.
both heard the answer to that one.
Right. So if you're concerned with you know, this student has, oh, the MHS
Yeah.
Chromebook,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I
You know
have
what I
my
mean?
own.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's a few things with that. The first thing is we would open it up to the students prior to coming back, saying, hey, we're purchasing these devices. If you want to purchase the same device, this is what the price is going to be, so that anyone could purchase one leading up to the school year. And then once we're in that school year, we could purchase skins or stickers, I'm not sure what the term for it is for Chromebook, just with the PAW or MHS, get a couple different varieties for everyone to purchase, so that way they're covering it up and
Yeah.
you won't necessarily know. And the devices that they do get, yes, they will have, it will probably be underneath
Like
versus on
another,
top
yeah.
of it. It will say MHS, but
Mine has
a lot of students will have a Chromebook device, and
Mm.
I personally do not think it's a challenge at all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rosemary.
Going with the bring your own device route, how do you handle technical support for kids when they've got multiple devices, different kinds of devices, like the teachers and a class with?
Right.
It's a great
So
question.
that's when we have our subcommittees, that's why we have an app committee, so that we're gonna choose applications that it does not matter what device, it looks the same. So like a Google Classroom, they're all web-based. No matter what kind of device you have, Google Classroom looks the exact same on all the devices, so that would not matter. And then as far as the tech aspect of it, when the student brings their own device, they're responsible for their own device. If that device breaks, they're responsible for it. And at that point, if they weren't going to be replacing it right away, they could go to the library and we'd have a process for them to sign out one of our devices.
We've also talked a little bit, and it's very early on, but talked a little bit about instituting an actual live help desk with some of our students who may want to sign up for that during a period of the day. And one of the criteria could be familiarity with different types of devices to give a little bit of support, browser support, et cetera, but they're probably not going to be fixing any hardware issues
Right.
on site.
Right. Oh, that's great.
I just want to say it's very exciting. Nalene and I and Betty, we sat in, you came to finance, it was very early in the morning. But it was really an exciting presentation, and especially I emailed you all and said that you incorporated the ideas from the alumni, that you put the quotes in. I think you've done an awful lot of work in a short amount of time, and you're all to be commended for that, and I think it could be transformative, so I'm really looking forward to see it unfold.
Thank you.
Really exciting.
Yes, no, I am
Yeah.
too, and if you're looking for 2 cents in terms of the different routes, I think my thoughts are, if you do the institutional one-to-one route, you have a greater degree of control over what material ends up in those devices. And I'm thinking of kids bringing in, music or other things on their personal devices that, now that they're behind the school firewall, they wouldn't be able to access it. But if they downloaded it at home and brought it in, you wouldn't run into that if it's all of our hardware. So, but the trade-off there is, as you said, that the ramp-up speed is slower. So, but I'm sure you've thought.
In working with Bob Pattison as well, he's doing a lot of the work looking at single sign-on and mobile web filtering, and a lot of the vendors that we're looking at right now, you're able to actually set the permissions for when you're on different networks at home. So if you were bringing home a device, it's subject to our filtering, and parents may have access to make that more strict, less strict at home, but it would still be filtered through our system, which is kind of exciting to see that capability is out there even when you're on different networks. So it may help with some of that.
Yeah. Good. Superintendent.
For me, it's very gratifying to see this strategic planning work and the technology work come together. But would you share, AJ, the names of the individuals who are on your original team? Because over the last 3 years before we had AJ, I had offers from parents and guardians who travel across the country and are national experts. And AJ was on the job just a month and tapped those individuals who have been very, very valuable. If you'd share that, and if Ben Kelly would share the exciting news with the viewing public about Milton High School and the open grade book.
Sure. So part of my technology task force, we have 3 parent representatives. We have Matt King, Steve Paxia, and Abe Cardoza. And then Ben, myself, Bob Pattison, Jen Troy from the high school. We have Deanna McGill from the middle school, and we have Kirsten Driscoll, Sarah Doherty, Linda Stefanik, all from elementary. I think that's everyone.
That's great.
Well done.
So
Excellent
we cover,
parents.
Great
cover
group.
It's a good
K-12
group.
and district.
And as for the Plus portal at the high school, as you know, we've been working over the last year and a half to change our system of using Edline and Grade Quick to one system through Rediker, a vendor we already contract with. So our teachers have all been using Gradebook now for about a year, and Plus portals for the beginning of this year. So we're at the point now where our staff is fully trained, and for students and parents who have logins, they'll be able to start seeing their grades and their assignments live starting on November 27th, that Monday after Thanksgiving. So students and parents 24/7 will be able to log in and see their current grades.
Please,
Well, I was gonna
Rob.
ask you
Yeah,
to.
I
The
just have
website.
to, yeah, I just want to thank you, like, as a school committee member, number one, which this is my third year, and this issue of Edline and the communication to the parents, such a huge thing that needed to be rectified, and it just felt at times we were hitting a wall, and as Member Everhart has said to me before, in 1 year that this is up and running, and for so many parents who would come to me to say, please get rid of Edline, what are you guys doing, why is it still there, it's so archaic, it's awful, it's awful, it's awful, it's awful. And the feedback on open house night that we got this year, it was just, I mean, the teachers, as a parent going to the one-on-one conferences, the teachers are happy with it, parents are happy with it, my 2 teenagers up at this high school are happy with it. Like, I can't thank you enough for like getting it up and running. I think it just gives us leaps and bounds of improvement to the communication, to, you know, to seeing where your kid is at in class, and even the students. So, you know, AJ, thank you, and I know Ben, you're Mr. Tech too up here, but thank you so much for putting this together. I mean, what seemed like we would have to just be leaping over mountains last year to it's done, and I was like, wow. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank
And
you.
Member
Thank you.
Marilla also mentioned the website several times to me.
Oh, yes, okay, so the website and just also I'll give Stephanie O'Keefe, and the website and the shout outs. I mean, again, as someone who's heavily involved in the past in all PTO levels, and no offense to Ms. Gormley, but don't put in her shout out, Sheila. No one's gonna read it, it's too long, it's not user friendly. And then all of a sudden, the new website and the accessibility to the, excellent, excellent, excellent. Everyone's raving about it, so.
We'll
I'll
pass
go.
those comments along to all of our teachers too. Who have
Yes.
been
we thank the
incredibly
teachers. It's a lot of
instrumental in
work
this
for them.
process.
We
Yeah, I know
recognize
it,
that.
but thank you so much for them being willing to learn and be educated on it. It's great.
These
Thank
were the
you. Thank
champions in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And members Walker and
Thank you.
I think there are smiling former school
Yes,
members.
Matt,
Oh,
I was
yes,
just saying,
yes.
Roy and Kristen
Are
are
also very
happy wherever they are.
Well said. Now we'd like to invite the Collycott Site Council to the table. And I'll leave introductions up to Principal Concanon.
Good evening. Thank you very much, and Sheila, I have to echo your sentiments. It is amazing to have AJ in this position, and I started the morning at 7:30 with him, supporting all of our special educators, team chairs, special ed director. He's been in preschool, kindergarten, middle school, and high school today, and is here tonight. And we feel, I know all of us, we were in agreement with everything, and to hear that proposal is very exciting for us. And we are having those discussions at the elementary level now with our Chromebooks and our carts, so
Yeah, it's great.
I
it's
was
great.
very excited to watch that presentation.
All good.
Yeah.
So thank you for having us. We are the Collycott School Site Council. I have a few people with me today. We have quite a council, a very large team, and although some of us may have been a little nervous to present tonight, we were all very willing and excited to be here, so thank you for having us. Tonight I have Gretchen Duffy, parent, Ellen Lohan, grade 5 teacher and safety patrol coordinator, walk to school extraordinaire. We have Zena Hamada, our grade 2 French teacher. Margot Danzy, our community representative. Again, I'm Holly Concannon, the principal. We have Maureen Driscoll, parent. Amy Gale, parent. ELA and math curriculum coordinator. And assistant principal. Thank you. Thank you for having us. So tonight we have quite an agenda. I know that you've seen some of the other schools, so we tried to keep in line with the vision of all the elementary schools. So a lot of what you'll see today is in common with the other schools, but I hope to highlight what makes Collycott just a little bit different. Tonight we'll tell you about our mission statement. We'll talk about the Collycott Code of being respectful, responsible, and hardworking. We'll reflect on our improvement plan over the last 3 years from 2014 right up until now. We will review the MCAS results, and we'll talk about next steps for our school, and finally, a few budget requests.
So the Collycott School mission statement. So at the Collycott School, there's a commitment to academic excellence and high standards for administrators, teachers, and students. The dedicated and creative Collycott teachers and staff are committed to maximizing the individual potential of each child. Through a wide variety of challenging activities and experiences, we strive to provide a strong academic foundation and a love for learning in a secure, safe, and stimulating environment that values individual differences. That's our statement, and we live by it. And our Collycott Code, which is all the kids know it and respect it, so they are all respectful, responsible, and hardworking. Every day, all day.
So I'm just going to highlight a little bit about the programs we house at the Collycott School, one of which is the Integrated Preschool Program. This is a district-wide program, so we welcome children from all over town to enjoy our half-day integrated preschool. During this time, children are welcome to come for half days to experience academic as well as social curriculum. We house children who may be in need of support of academic services, including speech, occupational therapy, as well as all areas of the curriculum. This year we have 6 half-day sessions housing 76 children. So this has grown quite a bit, and last year we shared with you that we had to actually knock down a wall to make the 3rd classroom, and it was one of the best investments I think that we've made. It's a program that continues to grow, and it is definitely one I believe people are moving to Milton for. In addition to the integrated preschool, we have one full-day preschool program. This is a program that serves children who have more significant needs and may need more time to access the curriculum. So these children are invited to stay all day. They experience academic and social curriculum as well as very specialized instruction from a highly qualified special ed teacher as well as ABA tutors. So we offer a lot of discrete trial and ABA principal support. So again, this is a full-day program, and currently we serve 8 children. Also at the Collycott, we house programs that have stemmed from the New England Center for Children. So the New England Center for Children is a world-renowned program that supports children with autism, and typically we have, well, historically we've had to send children to NEC out in Southborough, and it was quite a trip for the children to take to get to NEC, and it was quite a financial investment. Although this program was there when I got to Collycott, it has grown considerably. It started with one classroom called our NEC classroom, where our teacher comes from NEC, and we have a BCBA, a behavior specialist support from NEC, and it is a NEC program housed in Milton. It has been so well received, and it started with one classroom. It has now grown into 3 classrooms. So we have the NEC classroom, and then we have 2 partner classrooms. And they're partner classrooms because we still utilize everything that NEC has to offer, except the teacher is a Milton Public School teacher. So we still receive a lot of the support from NEC, including the BCBA. We use the ACE curriculum, and we are offered professional development through NEC. And although it says 15 students on your slide, we have 16 students. One of whom will graduate this year. We would love to keep him another year, but he's moving on. And again, I predict that this program will continue to grow. I think it is extremely well run, and it, again, is a reason why people are moving to Milton. So we also have a whole elementary school that I didn't get to yet, K to 5, and you'll see here a picture from one of our kindergarten classrooms. We have 4 classrooms this year. Probably would have had 5 if we had an extra classroom, but we don't. So the classrooms are at full capacity, and it's going very well. We have an unbelievably strong kindergarten team, as well as grades 1 through 5. And this year, in the elementary alone, we have 624 children. Again, we are doing our best to serve children in the best fashion we can. So although we have a lot of children, I can promise you that they are receiving quality instruction in beautiful buildings with unbelievable educators every single day. So to sum it up, Collycott by the numbers, we have a preschool through grade 5 program. We have quite a few kindergartners. We house the partners and NEC, and we also have students who come for walk-in services. So what that means is that children, although they may not take a spot in our school, either through preschool or elementary, they may come just for special education services like speech, like occupational therapy. So in all, we have 716 children, and we have 36 classes. So for our school goals, for the past 3 years, you've heard us talk about improving science, improving literacy, and I think probably the most important is to support and develop the whole child so they will be available to learn. Ellen is going to talk a little bit about our first goal, improving science.
So as Principal Buchanan said, our first goal is to support improving science, and one of the major things we've done to get towards this goal is purchasing the FOSS curriculum, the full option science program for grades 2 through 5. And so adding second grade to that has really helped, because even just talking amongst teachers, now kids have interactive science notebooks starting in the 2nd grade. So when kids get to us in 5th grade, they are so much more ready to engage in this this really high quality science program, so it's been really great. These programs have also been translated into the French program, and there are assessments available for students in the French immersion program. So students are receiving the same high quality French programs and English programs for the FOSS science, and a lot of work has gone to our French team in translating these materials, making sure they're available to all students. There are also now, with our new Reach for Reading program, which you'll hear more about later, a lot more opportunities for science content to be explored in all areas of the curriculum. Right now in our classroom in 5th grade, we're doing a whole unit that's big question is about how nature's network works, and it partners perfectly with our FOSS science. So now students are getting science through ELA and through science, so it's an awesome time to be in 5th grade. In 5th grade specifically, we have a partnership with Science from Scientists, and this is an unbelievable program, and if you haven't had the opportunity to come see it in action, I would really welcome anybody to come observe it, because we have scientists who have their doctorates who come in and they do a 45-minute lesson with the children. They come in and they bring materials that we just couldn't really house at the individual schools, and they're doing interactive things with students. They're bringing in different magnets, the kids are doing different centers, they're doing things with living things, and it's just really incredible to see. And students, I think, really learn really well from this way, and it helps us especially with those standards that kids maybe see in grades 3 or 4, but then they're tested on in the 5th grade MCAS, so it's a great way to spiral and review, as well as just have a really engaging experience. We also, at other grade levels, have school partnerships with the Neponset Watershed, Mass Audubon, and the Museum of Science. And having additional common planning at all grade levels has helped us to improve planning for science and be able to meet with our science coordinator during that time to think about additional resources that we could be pulling in. And even after school, we're doing more science with our Collycott after school sessions. There are opportunities for coding and gardening amongst a few others for science. So I think just a lot of science is happening all day long. If you walk through the school, you see living things in just about every classroom. Our butterflies came out last week, and it's been a lot of fun. So I think there are a lot of excellent things happening here at Collycott for science.
So improving literacy. So the progress that has been made so far, we've identified the need for increased assessment to support strands of literacy, reach for reading, assessments in English, and GB+, the Beau Chemin for French. Collycott administration participated in 2 years of Lectio Early Literacy Institute, formation of literacy leadership team to review curriculum programs, and we had 5 of our staff at the Collycott School that served on the 2016-17 literacy leadership team. Participation district-wide Boom Writer Bee. That was exciting. Increased time on task in the month leading up to testing. Ongoing professional development to support best practices. We just had a professional development for Reach for Reading, where both French and English teachers participated, as French has the online component of Reach for Reading. Increased technology opportunities for grade 5, like one-on-one Kindles for home and school. Beyond the Bell programming to support targeted students, and support from reading specialists in both French and English.
So for goal 3, to support and develop the whole child, we have adopted the second step social emotional learning curriculum. This has been extremely helpful for all teachers, administrators, children. Even after school, we've included them as well in sharing the same vocabulary. So our morning announcements, our weekly lessons, our parent letters all include vocabulary from the second step curriculum. We have an adjustment counselor dedicated to the needs of the classrooms and providing whole class, small group, and individual support. We also have a school-wide commitment to the language and procedures within the second step program. This includes, again, assemblies, morning announcements, and problem solving. We have a school-wide diversity survey that we developed in 2015. We are currently within our diversity team making a new survey with the goal of getting to know exactly who we are serving and making sure we are serving them correctly. We have opened the computer lab time for identified students in need of additional academic support or students who need support in transitioning into school in the morning. So opening the computer lab is not just about giving time on computers, it's about welcoming children early, allowing them to adjust to the school day, mentally preparing, and relaxing before the bell rings. This again is, I think I heard somebody ask a question about equity among devices. This is one of the reasons why we decided to open the computer lab. And for many children, it's not a financial need. It could be that they have 5 siblings fighting over that same computer and they're all on their Google Docs. So it is a time that is staffed by a wonderful educational assistant who works with our 5th grade. He's very familiar with the technology that we use. So we have to limit the amount of seats because everybody wants to do it, but we're trying to be as equitable as possible by identifying the children who need it the most. What we should have put on here, and we didn't, is that tomorrow we will host a coffee for Collycott families who have signed up to come in and actually learn about Google Docs. They'll sign in as their children. They will use Study Island. They will use NG Connect. They will use Everyday Connect Ed. We'll give parents a chance to act like the students and explore all of that so they feel more comfortable supporting their children. So we want to support the children but also the families as well. I was a little put off when AJ mentioned something that I didn't know about today. It didn't feel good, but Ellen filled me in. We also have a fully funded social justice curriculum called Discovering Justice, again thanks to the help of the MFE. This year, we also took a risk in revamping a lunch and recess schedule, and we are absolutely thrilled. We work very closely with the Cunningham administration and scheduling. We share a lot of spaces, and although the good far outweighs the challenges, it can be challenging at times. And this year, we did take a risk, and we revamped a few things, and we have a few classes going out to recess earlier than lunch. And I couldn't be happier with the way children are coming in, the way they're eating, the way they're settling, and it's really motivating us to make a few more changes for next year. MCAS.
This is sort of awkward, but
You can
I'll
pop
do
it
my
out
best
and-
with it.
Yeah, well, you can
Pop it
take
out
it
the
out.
stage.
Take it out.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's easy.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I get to talk to you about the Next Generation MCAS, which we participated in for the first time along with the rest of the Commonwealth last spring. My teaching career began back in the late 90s when we started with MCAS and standards, because prior to that there hadn't been any testing and there actually hadn't been any standards. In the very first year of MCAS, we took 10 math sessions and we took 14 ELA sessions. It took an entire month to test all of the fourth graders in my classroom. We've come a very, very long way since then. And the test, MCAS itself, has gone through many iterations since then. We had history thrown in there at one point. And they, over time, came to a test on MCAS that really made sense for our students. What the commissioner has stated is that we've really outgrown that test, and we experimented with PARC for a couple of years. We piloted that. Our students became very used to online assessments. And finally, in 2017, we had the Next Generation MCAS, which I think because our students had participated in PARC and participated in online testing, they were very prepared to engage in an online testing environment. There are a couple of things to know about the new MCAS. It does feel different than the old MCAS. It's not all multiple choice. There's a lot of critical thinking. There's a lot of abstract work, especially in mathematics. Children have to apply the knowledge that they've gained, and they have to make connections between reading and writing, which on the old MCAS they didn't need to do. So that's been a big adjustment for our students, and I think through our new reading curriculum and I think through the exceptional professional development that's offered in the district, we've really done a nice job at ensuring that teachers have the tools that they need to be able to access this test with their students. It's also important to note that the spring 2017 test is a baseline year. It is not necessarily appropriate to compare the results of this test to prior MCAS tests. So this is a fresh start for us, which is kind of nice because we've had a different test every single year since 2011 as they changed over the standards. So it's really nice to see a consistent path forward. I think there'll be some adjustment in terms of questions and things like that, but I do feel as though we'll have a nice consistent path moving forward for our students. And finally, it's important to note that the 4 achievement levels that we have for the current MCAS, Next Generation MCAS, do not map onto the former 4 achievement levels. So again, it's not a one-to-one correlation, that the exceeding expectations today is not the same as advanced in the previous MCAS, in Legacy MCAS. So now on to Collicott's results. For the reading, you'll notice that we have outperformed the state at all grade levels, which is wonderful. We're very proud of all of our students. The achievement percentile is important to highlight here. If you look at the 5th column over, you'll see that in grade 3, our grade 3 students did better than 78% of the other grade 3 students in the state on the reading test. Our 4th grade students did better than 88% of the other 4th grade students taking the test. And our grade 5 students did better than 83%. Our achievement percentiles are very high across the board, which is nice to see. You also can look at the transitional SGP. It's important to note that typical growth is between 40 and 60, and our children are at the high end of typical growth to even advanced growth in our 4th grade with a median SGP of 72. Grade 3 does not have an SGP because you need 2 years of data in order to get that. If we turn our attention to the mathematics, again, we have double-digit increase over the state, and once again, very high achievement percentiles with our 4th grade performing in the 92nd achievement percentile with a transitional SGP of 77.5, which means that the median SGP of our grade 4 students in math was 77.5, which is exceptional, exceptional growth. So we're very pleased with that. The next slide we'll take you to is the Legacy MCAS for science. It's important to note that science has not switched over to a next generation assessment yet. The next generation standards for science were adopted in 2016, and the test is still in development. Last year, Milton Public Schools students piloted the online assessment and still took the paper and pencil as well. This year, all students will be taking the legacy science MCAS on the computer, which again, I feel as though they're very prepared for. Ms. Lohan today was able to say that the MCAS in science felt so different from what the children were used to because they weren't used to taking an assessment paper and pencil anymore, that they really felt more comfortable taking their assessments on the computer. So I think it'll be a nice shift for our 5th graders this year. And then last but not least, my favorite slide of all of the slides in here, some highlights. One of the things that we pay attention to with our school population is how the performance of our subgroups are doing. And one of the things that we noticed in digging through our data was that our subgroups had very high achievement percentiles. So if you look at the reading, our students with disabilities, all students with individualized education plans in our school, scored in the 82nd achievement percentile for reading. This is a wonderful, wonderful gain for our students on IEPs. Similarly, our economically disadvantaged students scored in the 91st achievement percentile, meaning those students scored better than 91% of the rest of the economically disadvantaged subgroup in the state. If you look at the math, our students with disabilities were in the 92nd achievement percentile, and our high needs subgroup, which is comprised of our ELL students, students with disabilities, and economically disadvantaged students together, performed in the 87th achievement percentile. So it really goes to show that all of the things that we have in place to support our students who may be struggling at times are working. We have a lot of support in place through staff, we have a lot of support in place through curriculum materials, and also through interventions that are designed to meet the needs of all of our individual learners, and I think this is proof of that. And in looking at that MCAS data, we began to draft our school improvement goals for the 2018 through 2021 school years. So one of our main goals is to increase the number of students in the meeting and exceeding categories for math, science, and technology and engineering. We will also continue to identify opportunities within the curriculum and beyond to challenge students to exceed the standards. We will also continue, as Amy Gale said, to provide targeted interventions for students in particular subgroups, including partially meeting and not meeting the expectations. We've even taken the time to look at the kids who just kind of barely met and kind of try to come up with interventions for those students as well to ensure that they stay in the meeting group or even move to exceeding. And we, as Principal Cannon talked about, we have the AM computer lab time to help students both with academic and social and emotional needs so they're ready to learn when they come to school. And we will continue our Beyond the Bell programming, which are before and after school sessions led by teachers for students in particular groups to help them with ELA and math leading up to our testing. And we will just continue to collect and analyze internal data from assessments that will help to identify students to receive these interventions prior to our high stakes testing.
And also, all the texts that are used both in class and in the library will be focused on content-rich topics, and they will work in concert with the National Geographic Reach for Reading. There will also be a consistent multi-tiered approach to support the social, emotional, and behavioral well-being of all students at the Collycott School. Am I?
Maybe I was ahead.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, okay.
All right, so what we're looking at now is a draft of the Developing School Improvement Plan goals for 2018 to 2021. These are ideas the site council has drafted. Implement response to intervention at Collycott. Continue to expand social, emotional, and learning practices. Continue to thoughtfully integrate technology.
generate and distribute updated survey with diversity committee, and continue to identify and plan culturally competent events and practices to support all students, as well as to maximize family engagement opportunities. Some of the suggestions that came up were working with seniors in the community to support the students, and continuing to work with families with the RAD, Reading About Diversity, and Meet the Artist program.
And some of the resources that we've highlighted that are in place to help support our goals, many of which are thanks to the PTO, to the MFE, to our One Book, One School, and some opportunities that have been afforded due to the override. We currently have an increased instructional leadership, such as Amy Gale, who's the curriculum coordinator and our assistant principal in a full-time position. The override supported us to have math coaches, which support the primary and intermediate teachers across the district. We have an additional technology instructor dedicated solely for Collycott and Cunningham, whereas last year there was one person who was covering all 4 elementary schools. We have an inclusion specialist who is supporting including all children from all programs into the school. We have a reading specialist. Reach for Reading is our new reading program. Thanks to the PTO and the One Books, One School, we have additional Chromebooks, carts, and Kindles for our classrooms. We have additional subscriptions, including Study Island, Connect Ed, NG Connect, Boom Writer, Time for Kids, Scholastic News, and Raz Kids. We have Beyond the Bell support, which is the morning and afternoon sessions for students in need of support. We have partnership with 1647, which is the home visit programs for our incoming kindergarten students, where their teachers will go out to meet those students and their families and welcome them into the school. And increased common planning and developing time for the teachers, giving them an additional 45 minutes weekly to help with grade level planning and development.
So it is my pleasure to make some requests from you tonight. Again, many of these things may sound familiar, as we are, I believe, the last elementary school to present. As far as curriculum, we're hoping to spread the good fortune of the FOSS materials down to kindergarten and grade 1. We also would like to incorporate technology to support the early childhood programs. Currently at Collycott, there are 3 rooms without an interactive projector, and they are our preschool rooms. And I will be very honest in telling you that when I was the technology coordinator, I didn't feel as though this was necessary, because I felt as though the 3- and 4-year-olds didn't have the necessary strength to manipulate the board. And I still believe that, but the technology has changed and we no longer need that board. So now everything is interactive on a regular whiteboard, which is much easier to manipulate with a finger or a pointer, and it is also far more affordable than it used to be. And everything we're doing in preschool now comes along with technology as well. Although I've always supported iPads for centers and small group instruction, I do think it is time to put in the interactive projectors for the preschool. And also to include the Reach for Reading e-assessments. There is definitely a theme tonight about technology and preparing children to be ready to take tests online, as our children are used to that. None of our children will take a paper and pencil standardized test at the elementary school. So we believe that offering as many opportunities as possible with technology would benefit all children. As far as personnel, you've seen that our preschool has grown. We also have amazing programs happening at Milton High School and the Tucker School. So our preschool, there is a need for a coordinator. And the idea of this coordinator would be to make sure that all preschools are offering a rich experience as well as the ability to support children with needs. We'd love to advocate for additional reading support. We have great talent in the district right now, but we'd love additional support to support children in kindergarten, but also children in the upper grades as needed. Math specialists to take on a role similar to our reading specialists, we believe would have a huge impact on small group instruction. Our kindergarten numbers are growing, and I know that the class sizes can be demanding at times, and so we would like to advocate for our kindergarten assistants who currently work 80% of the day to take on a full-time role. And finally, for personnel, a stipend for our social emotional facilitator. I have been very proud of the work that's happening among the leadership team with the support of Laurie Stillman and Noel Vigu. The professional development opportunities that we have had this year far exceed anything I've seen up to date, and I do credit the partnership and their team for moving that work forward. For professional development, we are doing great things, and I would love to consider a budget request for literacy, instructional technology, cultural competency, and also some professional development around inclusive practices. We would also love to continue the 1647 partnership, although right now the program supports kindergarten teachers, educational assistants, family liaison, and other specialists visiting the homes of kindergarten parents. We have second and fourth grade and fifth grade and third grade who also want to do the same thing. The impact of the family connection we're seeing is huge. So we'd love to continue that program and also grow it into other grades. As far as math and small group instruction, we would love to also consider more opportunities for our teachers to engage in math as adults and as educators.
And so now we get to what examples of what success will look like at the Collycott School. Science scores in grade 5 will continue to rise. Grade 3 students will comfortably access both the content and technology in the classroom and during formal testing settings. There will be a consistent model for providing teacher support in all content areas with an emphasis on technology, math content, and social emotional learning. And technology will be intentionally integrated throughout the entire school day and effectively leveraged for deep learning. And finally, the subgroup achievement gap will continue to close in all areas.
And the text both in class and in the library will be focused on content-rich topics and work in concert with National Geographic's Reach for Reading. There will be a consistent multi-tiered approach to supporting the social, emotional, and behavioral well-being of all students at the Collycott School. And Collycott School and families will partner effectively in supporting the whole child.
So I just have some noteworthy news, some exciting programs we have at Collycott. And I said this the last time I was here, I can't tell you how happy I've been at Collycott as a parent. And I think Mrs. Gale and Mrs. Concannon just set the bar, and it's wonderful to be a part of this school. And they come to work every day, they love their jobs. I think the teachers feel it, the parents feel it, and the kids feel it. My kids love to go to school every day. So it's been exciting to be a part of this team. So some of the new programs or exciting events we have at the school, we have a new website, it's up and running and supporting increased communication. We have 60 new Chromebooks and 3 new carts in circulation. Study Island Math was purchased for grade 2 after a successful grade 2 pilot at Collycott last year. And we have the CAS program, or the Collycott After School Sessions, and currently we have 118 students enrolled. We have fully funded Discovering Justice program, thanks to the MFE, and we've had a successful rollout of the standard-based report cards, and that's included parent focus groups, teacher professional development, and a GLF team to calibrate. We had grade 4 teacher Brenda Rogers was a $5,000 winner from the Donors Choose program, and with her winning, she funded all programs that were unfunded by other teachers from Donors Choose. So I thought that was a wonderful thing. We have an estimated $50,000 in Collycott Donors Choose projects funded since 2011. And we were awarded $20,000 in DESE grant in partnership with Pierce Middle School to support particular articulation of new standards. And we have some pictures of some exciting events at Collycott.
So here we have students at work. You can see, I believe that's Zena's grade 2, second grade classroom working with living things there. We have our preschool students with a subscription of a Scholastic magazine, and then I believe we have a third grade class working on math. The picture on the left is a bouquet that was made by our Cass gardening class. So in addition to taking care of our garden in the back, they also took a field trip down to the community gardens on Edge Hill, and they arranged arrangements to be delivered to the hospice right around the corner. And that's just one of the feel-good stories from Cass. And I was just taken back by 118 children enrolled in that. That's a program that is just for an hour after school. You have Zumba, yoga, newspaper writing. We have gardening, coding, a few different things, and all taught by Collycott staff. And the idea is that it's just a different experience to stay in the school for an hour. The class is $50 for 6 sessions, and we also offer scholarships for some of the students. The idea is not to make money, but just to provide a different opportunity for children. And once 6 children are enrolled in the class is paid for, and then we spread the love some way. We also have some preschool children playing at the sand table there. Important things. The third grade okay, we're gonna look at box now. It's okay. We have an incredibly successful box program, and I do credit Linda Stefanik for launching it at Collycott a few years ago. And now we have Eric Kelly. He's a parent of Ronan in 5th grade. And Eric is so passionate about this, and he is so good at it. My children actually go to this because of him. And they can be doing anything from planks to push-ups, but also learning how to be good people at the same time. The program was so successful at Collycott, and Cunningham needed a little help as far as support to get it going, so we've combined Collycott and Cunningham, so we do both schools together. And I was a little nervous that it might be a little bit too crowded, but Eric, along with Megan McCassin from Cunningham, and Heather Bergen and John Halen and quite a few other parents, they've really mastered the art of fun, structured play without structure at times. And the children are really learning how to get fit and really build character. Again, we have kindergarten children. This is actually not in our class, but just I believe that's Mimi Tran's kindergarten class, Children Hard at Work. In Laura McDermott's 3rd grade class, Laura is also on our school site council, not here tonight, but does a lot of things for the community, and she does so very under the radar. She does a lot of things that we don't know about. So when we give her attention, she doesn't always like it, but we're going to do that tonight. So these 3rd graders created a kindness quilt, and they were donated to a women and children's shelter. Laura also, in partnership with Marlene Mason, they do a lot of things for the Collycott staff to support women and veterans and homeless, and we just have amazing people who work for us, and these are just some of the things they do. Here we see Amy Gale giving out a recognition ticket at our 2nd step assembly, where we recognized one student from every class for being empathetic or being a good friend or being respectful, responsible, or hardworking. So that was just not too long ago. In our latest event last week, we did hold an assembly where we asked the children to come and learn about Veterans Day and really understand why they had Friday off, because it was a great day off, but we really wanted them to understand why. And it was exciting to see, I think we had almost 50 veterans that we knew about ahead of time come in, all relatives of Collycott children. We took a survey before they came, so we knew where they served, what their rank was, and we had a slide identifying the veterans, but also their connection to the Collycott children. So here I think you see Brian Cherry with his 2 5th grade twins. We have 2 left. The other Cherries are at Pierce right now, but we stole him for the day. And then I believe we have the Crowley family with their grandfather who spoke at our first Veterans Day assembly last year. But I think we had quite a few people, and the children were really proud of their relatives, and the children who didn't bring a veteran said they know a veteran and they're going to bring one next year. And I really do think the veterans in attendance, they came for a coffee ahead of time, and we had, again, 50 veterans in our teacher's room with coffee and dessert, and they had a chance to be together that day and really recognize that the following day off was for them. So it was nice. That was our latest assembly, and we hope to do more. We really hope to get connected more with the seniors in our community. The 5th grade volunteer project is really going to focus on connecting to the seniors and hopefully recruit some more volunteers. We have a few wonderful volunteers right now who are really making an impact on primary children reading, and we welcome and encourage the community to consider coming out and meeting us at Collycott. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Excellent
Bravo.
presentation. And excellent with the time, too. Got through a lot in a short period of time, so thank you. Questions? Member Varela? No, Member White?
This was just very superb. Every single one of the presentations from your site councils has been great. I just was wondering about, I mean, your test scores for the kids who are in your subgroups is very impressive. So I wonder if you could share how many of your students are low income and how many are on IEPs, and how does that compare to the other elementary schools?
So I can talk a little bit about the diversity at Collycott School. Although we're not as diverse as maybe we'd like to be as far as racial backgrounds, or we have great diversity in the needs of our children and in economic stability. We also have great diversity with the needs of children. I think one of the things Collycott should be commended for is the staff and the consistency of the staff and the ability to work together. The common planning time this year has allowed all of our special educators to sit in with the grade level teams and really master the curriculum. So I think, I'm afraid to give you an exact number because I'm afraid it's going to be incorrect. We do have a high amount of special needs as far as special education in our school. But I do think the staffing plays a big role in the progress that we made. I think our special educators took ownership of grade levels in the past few years, and we tried to keep our providers in as few grade levels as possible so they could really master that curriculum and make appropriate accommodations.
It's also important to note that we have a number of children who take an alternate assessment. Because of the Neck and Partners program, we have children whose needs indicate that traditional testing is not appropriate for them. And it's important to note that all of our children who took alternate assessments last year, which is a portfolio process, did receive progressing grades as well. So those children are making the progress that we hope they would as well.
Member Varela?
Yep, thanks. Great presentation, as always. I had a query, though, because you guys are the last, the last of the schools and the last elementary, and the next generation MCATs, that last year was the first year that we did it, and also the fact that we are using a new reading program, Reach for Reading. So I wanted to ask you, because I, as I've said many times, I'm in educational publishing, and I know for our core basals, right, like what Reach for Reading is a core basal, like a K5, K6. For the math and for the reading, all the big houses and even the smaller houses, put their curriculum together to say, with Common Core standards. So that basically, it's a sales thing, right? You use our program. We align to the Common Core standards so that when you take the PARC, you're going to do really well, right? And then for those states that do not sign up for Common Core, we do customizations, right? So we do customizations in social studies, reading, math, so that we adhere to those state standards that they have to say, well, Texas, you're not part of the Common Core, but see how we can align to your standards so that when your kids take your state assessments, which is that, they will be successful and they will go to the school committee and they will show them how well they're doing. So I just was wondering, now that Massachusetts is no longer really part of Common Core, that we're using next generation MCATs, what are you guys doing? I mean, this could even be for Mary and Janet too, but how does this new program, or in your own professional development, are you assessing it to say what can we use in the program so that when they take the next generation MCAS, in reading, and then I know we still use everyday math, but I know everyday math I don't know if they, now that the states that aren't using Common Core, but again, can show you how to use the program so that you get the most out of it, so that your kids will succeed well on the exams.
I'm happy that
Yeah.
I thought Ellen did a nice job earlier when she talked about the science slide and the reach for reading, and you talked about the amount of nonfiction as well as the tie-in with science. I will be very honest, it took me a little bit to embrace the whole move from Reader's Workshop because I watched children learn to love reading. So I've been watching this with a very careful eye, and I'm very satisfied with what I'm seeing. I'm also a parent of a 3rd and 4th grader, so I see the homework, I see the way their papers are coming back, and the assessments I'm seeing now far outnumber the assessments I saw before. I know clearly what my children are good at and what they need to improve on. I'm also finding that the Study Island piece supports, you see the standards in a different language or a different way. So I believe the partnership of our Reach for Reading with the NG Connect piece, the technology piece, and the everyday math with Study Island, I feel like our children are getting varied experiences. So I just wanted to say that, but I think Amy might.
So we actually, Ellen and Zena and I spent the day today, along with the rest of our grade level facilitators, doing just this work. And I think regardless of what program you're teaching, the efficacy of the program comes in the people who deliver it. And we're so fortunate at Collicott and Cunningham and Glover and Tucker that we have really high quality teachers. And in our professional development with the Lectio Institute over the last 2 years, they really let us know that it's the high quality interaction between the adult and the child that really makes the work and the learning happen. So I think that is happening regardless of what program we use, which is amazing. In terms of making sure that our programming is aligned to the standards in Massachusetts, that's the work that we embarked upon today. As you know, we have embraced a new standards-based report card, which I think we're going to get to talk to you all about it on another date. But the work that we did today, and also through the DESE grant, was really mapping our work onto the report card where we are reporting out to families how a child's doing relative to each individual standard. So the teachers are working in benchmark documents, creating evidence that they can use to ensure that children are meeting each individual standard as outlined by the state of Massachusetts. And this is really nuanced work, and it takes a lot of time, and these teachers have done it with such a deft hand. And it's ongoing, and we see it taking some time, but I think that shift in the report card has really allowed for some of this work to happen, which has been great. And it's also important to note that the next generation, or the newest standards, the 2017 Math and ELA standards, were really born out of the Common Core state standards. So most of what's in there was in the old standards. So for example, poetry, as it's not a standalone standard anymore, it's now wrapped into narrative, but we're still teaching poetry. So I think it's really just unpacking those new standards, making sure we know where they come up in the curriculum, and providing opportunities for teachers to have professional development around the types of evidence that we can collect to ensure that we're meeting those standards. Just to add on, I think this year we have more evidence than ever before. This year, as a grade level facilitator, we looked at our benchmark document from last year, and it felt like last year we were really pulling from everywhere to make sure we had enough evidence to defend giving students grade on the report card. But this year I feel we have multiple pieces of evidence for each standard. So I think all of us could sit in a conference with a parent, and if they were questioning a grade or how is their child making progress, we have outlined it down to look at unit test number 2, question 22. And we have it down to that much of a science this year. And I think we were all nervous switching the curriculums, but what I noticed is when we got the boxes, it was such a fun day at Collicott. There were like 22 boxes in my classroom, over 1,000 books to inventory. So we didn't lose that piece of loving reading. It's not everything in the anthology. My students are still in book clubs, and they're reading a variety this time of nonfiction books, usually for 2 weeks, and then it'll switch to fiction books. So I feel that students are getting a really diverse experience, and they're being exposed to they're exposed to the same types of literature in the past, but now I think more frequently they're switching, which is nice, so they're continually getting practice with fiction and nonfiction all within one unit, which is great to see.
So, Ms. Lohan, do you like Reach for Reading?
Should I go work for them? No, I really do like it.
If I may just follow up, just as Amy Gale noted, the Massachusetts standards are included, come from the Common Core standards, and Massachusetts standards are aligned. Even previous to the most recent revision, Massachusetts had more standards than the Common Core. So that was the previous set of standards. So when our literacy leadership team met all last spring and throughout the summer, part of our review of 5 curriculum programs included a look at standards alignment. And there were multiple areas that it was a very comprehensive review of all of these programs. And the one thing that we noted about Reach for Reading was the rigor and the challenge. We considered that. We had guidelines to follow when we did this curriculum review. And I think it was more comprehensive than we really anticipated it could be. And we did, it was a unanimous decision to select Reach for Reading. And it was clear that the instructional materials were not only challenging, but highly motivating. And the teacher resources far surpassed anything else that we looked at. So we really feel like it's the whole package. And there is no doubt that there's alignment. And additionally, we just qualified for a grant to have an early literacy team participate in looking at the frameworks and ensuring alignment. Mm-hmm. We're going to be working with DESE. We have a team that will be meeting throughout the school year, and even though we know that the curriculum is aligned, we're going to be creating an action plan and looking at our early literacy initiatives, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us to participate with other districts in the state.
So I just want to say bravo. Really, the presentation was wonderful. All the presentations were wonderful. And I just want to commend you for the little things that you're doing, like the whole recess thing, and that is a tremendous. Sometimes people, like you said, take a chance to do those things, and they make such a difference in the small little parts of the day. And I want to thank, is it Ms. Lohan and Madame Hamada for talking about how how the Reach for Reading is translating into the whole French program, because that's been one of my sort of nagging questions in the back of my head. Because I know the resources are not the same first and second grade, and you spend a lot of time translating, and it's a lot of extra work, and we really appreciate the efforts that you make for the students in that regard, and just all the extra work that you're making. It's just really, I feel like after watching all these Site Council presentations that the district is moving in such a wonderful way, and I see Lori Stillman's work popping up here, popping up there in the ways that you're doing things. And so I was looking, when you did the MCAS presentations, and I was looking at the 4 categories? No, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm thinking of that our last health and wellness meeting, and I'm just thinking we need to change that last one to not meeting expectations yet. Yes. Yet. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Cragen?
Well, I have several things to say. I've said for a while now, because Collicott is not only the largest of the elementary schools, I'll say that, you didn't say that, but it's bigger. And because there's so many balls you've been juggling with, let's see, half-day preschool, full-day preschool, NEC and partners, and elementary K through 5, I have said to Superintendent Gormley and others who will listen to me, I don't know how Holly Concannon does it, but now I get to say, I'm so glad that the voters of Milton decided to pass an override, and she has the great Amy Gale backing her up. So that's terrific to see. Also, kudos, because there's so many things. I guess just to piggyback on what Margaret said, but there's so many things from the huge achievement percentiles that are amazing, really amazing, and not just overall, but those subgroups that are so just so high. That's just terrific. It's wonderful to see. but also to your family engagement. I love that idea of the coffee and going to sit and do the, yeah, but I'm not a Collicott parent, you know? But to be able to sit there and sort of go through what they would on the computer and to know that, that's just a great idea to get parents involved on that level, but also to sort of teach them exactly what it is that these kids are coming home and saying that they're using. To those CAS courses that you were showing, and I think those are wonderful. So I just, you know, I'm going to go all positive tonight. So that's really wonderful. Good to see.
We're going to roll tomorrow.
Excellent. Rosemary.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation. I have a special place in my heart for Collicott School with the large early childhood presence that you have there. And thank you for giving such a strong start to all of these children's school careers in Milton Public Schools, both the kids with special needs, but also their peers in their classrooms who are learning a lot about other people in the world. And it will put them in a very good place as they move forward through your efforts. So thank you for that. And you already answered the other question I was going to ask, but I just think it's kind of an amazing year that you're navigating now a second year of a new standards-based report card at the same time as you're doing a new ELA curriculum and with the new MCAS, and that it sounds like it's going pretty well. And bravo to you. It says a lot for your efforts in putting those report cards together to kind of touch on the right standards, and that you found ways to document how kids are doing, reporting to parents, and that those all relate to your new curriculum and the assessment. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful effort, and thank you and bravo.
So I wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss the need for a dedicated preschool coordinator. I think, so we have, for the viewing public, we have 3 very different preschool programs. So, which means at 3 different locations, which means we have 3 different principals who are sort of in that boat with you. But I think you're uniquely positioned to talk about the demands that the pre-K school or classrooms place on your time and the school, and what the benefit would be of a dedicated pre-K coordinator.
I think it's also important to recognize that Ada has had a great amount to do with the fact that our preschool is as coordinated as it is. So thank you, and we miss you there. So we, again, you saw the numbers for our preschool at Collicott. It is a whole other school, and we work in partnership with the teachers at Milton High School and also at Tucker to make sure that the same type of school experience is being offered. However, we are the main source of special education needs. So for a child who may be enrolled in Tucker or Milton High School, who may potentially be identified as someone in need of service, most of those services would begin at the preschool at Collicott. So we have a teen chair, a special ed teen chair at Collicott, who also serves as our school psychologist. So that is very much a full-time job, to be the teen chair of a very large preschool program with a large amount of children with special needs, in addition to her school psychologist position in assessing children and identifying what we can offer them. So in the past, we have asked this position to also coordinate what's happening in the other schools, as well as support any special education needs that may arise in the other school. It is more than a full-time job. And I think having one person to be the go-between for the principals as well as the teachers to make sure that all students are offered a consistent experience is very important. And I think if we continue to ask, as we have, the staff that we currently employ to do this, we will get it done. But we'd like to get it done in a way that is of the highest quality. And in order to do that, I do think we need an additional person. And I think now would also be a good time to recognize the efforts of Marty McKenna, our family outreach liaison, who, by her nature, is actually doing a lot of this work. And she is, for many people, the gateway into our buildings, and she often recommends supports for children as young as 3 and 4, even 2. So she's doing a lot of that work. She also is serving as the family outreach liaison for the whole entire district. So although her efforts are, they're amazing, again, she has another whole entire job to do. So it would be great to have one highly qualified person to really coordinate the efforts of all the programs.
Thank you. Superintendent?
In closing, it's appropriate that you have the veterans picture. We talk about Maria Trozzi, friend of the Milton Public Schools, nationally recognized, dealing with children. And the little secret is Maria is a grandparent of children at the Collicott, very happy, thriving children. But her husband, Peter Cook, is a veteran. And the evening after your veterans event, he called me and he said, he's a very active veteran. And he said, I've been to programs across this country, but I've never felt as appreciated or heard anyone as sincere as Holly Concannon speaking to the veterans today. So whatever happened at that veterans event, and I'm sorry I missed it, it was very moving for the veterans. It was also, must have been moving for you to conclude your presentation with it. So well done. You made one veteran feel very, very appreciated, and this is a veteran who goes out to events all through the year. So thank you. And for those children, they'll remember that the rest of their life. And in closing, too, I think Member Rose Marin said it best. And I'm glad that the school committee's hearing about this reach from reading. They come up with this presentation. We don't. Assistant Superintendent Sheehan edits, but she doesn't get much editing power. But it's, no one says to students, you're not going to take MCAS, you have to wait. Or no one tells children that they can't have a certain program this year. And so on behalf of the Milton Public Schools, this school committee supported all of the elementary school children when Amy Gale, and led by Janet Sheehan and your teachers, evaluated these programs for 2 years. In the Milton Public Schools, we historically didn't have the funding to put a program in district-wide. And another little secret, it was Collicott teachers, and Assistant Superintendent Sheehan called me and said, they all want the program, Mary. I said, well, you didn't tell them we can afford that, did you? and so theirs isn't the finance. These people at the table are the finance. And it was like nothing I've ever seen in the Milton Public Schools, because it's always some children have to wait, but you don't say wait to take MCAS. You don't say wait to do something else. So the enthusiasm, and we targeted, I told the school committee, all the professional development this year is the literacy program. We're not interrupting your time. As important as math and science, we're targeting that literacy program. And so for me, the school committee members enjoyed the presentations, but to hear about the reading program and the enthusiasm, because no one tells you what to say, and your enthusiasm around the program, but on behalf of all the children having the experience. So I wrote down the perfect storm. And so as you said, the standards-based report card that Ms. Lewin said, that you're given the substance to really own that report card, and the new generation MCAS, it is the perfect storm for Milton Public School children. So on behalf of the Milton Public Schools, well done.
Well done. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to pass on that.
Feel better about
I have an email blast going out.
Thank you.
Which is rare. Unhappy.
All right. So
Everyone should be a scavenger. Yeah,
as part of our revised, our self-imposed revisions to our work orders here, we've made an effort to incorporate quarterly reports to some of the boards and groups that we represent and ourselves at and attend. So this evening, we have reports from MPEG and our Inclusion Task Force. So I don't know if our MPEG representative would like to talk about things that have gone on in the last few months on the MPEG board and
Sure.
what's to look forward to.
Sure, happy to. Yes, I represent the school committee on the MPEG board for Milton Access TV. And there's a lot going on Milton Access TV. There's a number of new programs that are on the air. A program called Acting Up with Mel and Gigi Giraffe, which is a monthly 30-minute live-action children's program featuring kids from the community doing fun, drama-oriented activities. Mel is a very talented star of the show with a funny hand puppet giraffe with a little bit of an attitude and a big heart. It's really quite a program targeted to kids ages 3 to 8. Use their imagination while they join in activities. It runs 7 days a week at 3:30 and before school at 7:30. Stepping Up to the Plate, which is a weekly sports show hosted by Michael Vega, highlighting students and athletes in the high school. Recently, I think as we talked about last time, there was an event with the student athletes who signed letters of intent for their college level sports teams, were on the show and interviewed with the families as well. It was a wonderful program. Milton Access TV is going to the Library Children's Hour and filming the children's programming there, which is an amazing also opportunity. There's so much going on there between music and reading and interactive science presentations for fun and educational activities, and it airs at 2:30 on Tuesday afternoons as well as Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Channel 22 is dedicated to educational programming, and we'll also see our meetings and replays, varsity level home games, Wildcat News from the high school, various lectures and events that are coordinated by the school department. And they've featured programs and meetings that we've been involved with, like our roadwork construction meeting around the Cunningham Collycott project was filmed, senior awards night, retiree reception, college information night, lots and lots of programming that they do for Milton Public Schools, families, and the community to learn about what we're doing. This past several months, there's been an equipment installation at the high school in the Charles Winchester Auditorium. There was just installed a state-of-the-art robotic cameras and broadcast equipment. And this can be used by both Milton Access TV and the high school students in the Wildcat News class. So it's a wonderful learning opportunity for them to learn how to work this equipment. The equipment was recently used to film the musical Pippin. And while we can't release that program on the air, it's available for the students who are involved in the program to see. Classes that are offered by Milton Access TV. Mike Lynch, the executive director of Milton Access TV, offers 2 PASS classes at Pierce Middle School, where the studio is located. And this semester's PASS class was on stop motion animation, where students created their own short films with objects appearing to move on their own. And the enrollment was open. There were openings for 10 students and 18 signed up. And they all participated and loved it. It's really quite an offering for our middle school students. Mike also partners with Mr. Opresti through the Wildcat News class, where he's available for training on new equipment and offers lessons about editing. So it's generating the whole next generation of videographers and newscasters and creative programming folks for our community, and providing opportunities for students who might be interested in those opportunities. Milton Access TV has launched a monthly newsletter, and people who are interested in receiving the newsletter should send their email address to info@miltonaccesstv.org to join the mailing list. And there is a December orientation open house that's going to be held on Thursday, December 21st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. For people who are interested in learning more about the station. And they should contact the station to sign up for that. And last, both the contract with Comcast and the town and Milton, MPEG and the town are expiring next year. So we're in the early stages of developing a strategic plan for the next 10 years. And we fully anticipate that the contract will be renewed with the town. But if the school department or the school committee has any program ideas or requests, it would be a good idea to get those in now so they could be included in that strategic plan. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. You know, you said a lot about our partnership with MPEG and Milton Access TV, and we really do owe them a tremendous debt for this wonderful studio, all the technical support they provide us as a committee, and as you said, the middle school and the high school, the work that they do with our performing arts people. It is a tremendous amount of work that they do, and it is all behind the scenes, and it is all you know, there's not a lot of glory that goes into it, but it benefits us as a school community, and it benefits us as a community in general. It gives us a platform to address the voters and the citizens directly, and we are very, very grateful to their support and their partnership. So thank you.
I'd just like to add one personal note. I think Mike Lynch is a Milton treasure.
Yes.
He is really
works so hard.
He
Here, here.
does.
Yeah.
Person.
He's so invested in the community.
He has
Yeah.
done a lot for this town, and continues to bring this station new places, new directions, involving people throughout the community, and it's a wonderful thing.
Thank you. All right, our inclusion task force. Do we have?
So, well, that would be me. And so, unfortunately, since I took a new job, which actually involves inclusion every minute of the day, which is a wonderful, wonderful job. I'm so, so lucky. I don't know if the meeting was today or it's tomorrow from 4 to 6. But we need to find someone. I cannot make those meetings anymore. But I am going to talk to the person who's chairing the committee tomorrow to just sort of get a sense of where they are. And I don't know if maybe Betty would love to join the inclusion task force. I think it's her wheelhouse, whatever they say. And the meetings that I attended were so informative, and I loved, Mr. Redden is part of the task force, the teachers that were part of the task force. When he did his presentation, one of the teachers that they showed with the young boy that had cerebral palsy, and they were showing it, she's on the task force, and it's really a wonderful opportunity. And so I did talk to Michelle Conley, who was still working with them today, and I told her that I would reach out to the school committee and see if there's anyone who's able to make the meetings and be our representative, since I can't get here in time to do it.
Okay.
So
How can I find out if the meeting is?
so I'm going to talk to Michelle tomorrow, and then I will email Kevin, and then at the next and then he can contact you, and we can figure it out from there.
Sounds excellent.
Okay. All right.
And our partnership on the inclusion task force, I think over the past my time on the committee, there has been a sea change in sort of how we view inclusion and how it gets incorporated into so much of what we do. So, I think our involvement with this task force has really helped push that forward in the district. So, my thanks to
yeah. And, excuse me, interrupting. Yeah. One of the things that when we were talking at the meeting I attended previously, the teachers were talking about opportunities to you know, have like sort of informal visits, but go and see other teachers who are like sort of masters at inclusion. Not like you go and visit the classroom 15 minutes. I know the last time that someone did a Psych Council presentation and they talked about that. I even think at the high school they were talking about that they've been doing that. Yeah. And finding the time to do that is really difficult. Managing the day, it's really hard. But I just think for Mr. Redden's presentation last week, where he showed all the ways that they're adapting the classroom and using all those different tools in a you know, third grade classroom is wonderful. And I think more information available to the community would be helpful. So I do agree with you that it's a wonderful opportunity. And I'd like to see our presence, you know, continue and come back to the school committee.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the last item under the chair's report is an executive session report out. Over the past few weeks, we have worked with our colleagues in the union and reached a memorandum of agreement supplement to our collectively bargained agreement, the primary purpose of which was to afford non-birthing parents some additional leeway in their time off after their family expands. So the memorandum of agreement allows such parents to use 7 of their accumulated sick leave days as part of their time off package after becoming a new parent. So I would like to thank our colleagues at the union for helping us reach this agreement in an expeditious manner. I will note for those watching at home that this MOA sunsets with the union agreement at the end of August 2019. So that's all I have to say on that. Finance Subcommittee?
Okay, since my last finance report, we have met 3 times on October 30th, November 6th, and November 13th. At those meetings, we have reviewed capital budget requests from facilities and technology. We have discussed priorities. We have talked about what can be covered with one-time funds, what might be bondable. Those were very fruitful discussions. We've looked at funding for the SEL position, which has been brought up by several of the site council presentations. We've talked quite a bit about that. We have also discussed the need for a preschool coordinator with about 155 students at 3 different schools, most of which are obviously at the Collicott, which we just heard about. And again, that was a need that was identified by more than one of the site council presentations. We heard the tech presentation that all of you heard tonight and discussed that rollout, which would cost about $100,000, and how that might be funded with one-time funds. We have discussed increasing the family cap for the summer programs, but that is an ongoing discussion. We have compared preschool costs to 14 other school districts who had information available, and we discussed that over the course of 2 weeks. And during our last meeting on Monday, we voted to support an increase in preschool tuitions. From the current half-day tuition, which is at $3,125, I believe, to an increase to $3,350 for half-day, and then an increase from $7,500 for full day to $8,000. We really needed to go up on those tuitions, and the finance subcommittee felt that increases were going to be needed to be made, perhaps even on an annual basis, but semi-regularly as well. We also discussed increasing the chargebacks to community schools. That's an ongoing discussion, which we will be addressing again on Monday, the 20th. We'll be meeting again. And we have discussed raising rental fee rates, and at this point, we are not inclined to raise them. So that's what we've been doing in finance. I think I've said this before, but I really appreciate the fact that everybody is willing to get up at the crack of dawn and show up at 6:45 for those meetings. So thank you very much. I would like to, first of all, Dr. Pavlicek, is this the warrant that I just signed?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to move to approve the vendor warrant number 20, dated November 16th, 2017, in the amount of $529,988.04.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? That would be 5, and anybody abstaining? That would be 1.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so ends my report.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Excellent.
You do a great.
So, on the facilities subcommittee, facilities subcommittee has met twice since our last report to you. Our major topics of business have been our multi-year facilities management plan. It's a 20-year plan that our consulting group, DRA, has put together for us. I will send that out electronically to all of you. For those of you who are not on the subcommittee and who have not seen it, it's about 30, maybe 40 pages of very, very small type, and it goes into extensive detail about all the capital needs that we will have over the next 20 years. Important in that time frame is we're going to have a number of large expenditures for roofs or other portions of the now early middle-aged schools that we have as they move through the life cycle of their roofs. And I think it will be very helpful from a town-wide perspective to plan some of those peaks and valleys that are outside of the 5-year window that we tend to look at a lot in town planning. So I will send that out electronically to you. We will make the consultants available in January. They're going to be here January 17th at our meeting to go over the plan in detail and the accompanying executive summary. And any questions that you have, I'm sure they'll be happy to answer. We discussed the capital requests briefly. There hasn't been any change from us in terms of the capital requests. I think we're waiting for a return volley from finance about those, but the meeting that I had earlier this week with the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, I think was a very positive one. So I'm not sure how important reordering the priorities will be, but we will pass our updated information on to them as soon as we get it back. And then the bulk of the second half of the meeting, after the 20-year capital plan was discussed, was with regards to our ongoing space issues. And you have in front of you the preliminary report from NESDEC. It's not the comprehensive report that we saw last year. This is based on October 1st enrollment data. So it's still in the process of being produced by NESDEC. They don't have the private school data, and our percentage of students in town, minus those that we've lost to various private schools and other related topics. But as you can see, the data that we have had in years past continues to be what we have now. We have projections for what I would describe as phenomenal growth over the next 10 years. I think for anyone watching at home who links to these, and for you here, I think one of the important sheets is the third page, and that stat block in the lower left-hand corner. The columns highlighted in yellow are our basic school columns, K to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12, and we're looking at a peak enrollment of around 2,400 students in the elementary grades, and that's excluding pre-K, in the year 2024-25. So, and then if you look beyond that, we don't see a tapering of these numbers. That seems to be the new normal. So, with those grim statistics, and I'll direct you to there's a bar graph several pages later that looks like this, that shows the widening divergence between our in-town birth rate and our in-town kindergarten enrollment. And for a period there, we enrolled the children that were born and lived here several years later, but those numbers are now diverging. You know, we are seeing people move into town with elementary age students and kindergarten students looking to access the public schools. So, with that data, we discussed short-term and long-term solutions. We're in the process of trying to identify some possible rental space in town if the need becomes dire and we're no longer able to house our students in our own buildings. And then we started talking about building solutions and moving forward from there. So this is obviously a topic that we will have to address as a full committee. And I expect that finance, once they get through the immediate budget season, will like to weigh in and start to look at some of the costs involved with procuring temporary space if we need to, or developing and building permanent space, and the various options that they would have. So, sort of a grim discussion in terms of budgetary numbers, but I think the silver lining there is we're obviously doing something, tremendously well.
Clearly we're doing something right.
So,
evidenced by the presentation, yeah.
That's what I take away from that.
Oh, yeah.
All right? Yes, Member Rosemary.
The one thing that this kind of reinforced for me was before we got this NESDEC report, we were wondering, is this a bubble that we're seeing that's going to then go back down? And the answer is no. It's going to continue to increase, and these projections tell us that, and we need to plan for it.
Yeah. And to provide some context for those at home and for my colleagues who weren't there, our current schools are built, our current elementary schools are built for between 14 and 15 strands of students, and these numbers that we're looking at here, we're talking 18 strands of students. So that's a big change. So, all right. And any other comments or thoughts? Yeah, it's all been said.
Yeah. I think that, well, first of all, I want to thank you for the, I know we did a NESDEC last year, which spoke to this, and this also continues to confirm what Ada just said, that it's not a bubble, it's not just a bubble, it's something that we have to prepare for. So, I just think that, I think the only thing I'd like to say to the parent community is that, let them know that we are aware of it. We are, we're going to aggressively look, what we can do in the short term and the long term, as Dr. Donahue said. But there may be some periods of time where, we're all going to have to cowboy up together and, maybe not have the ideal classroom like we have now in the 4 elementaries, but as a parent of a child who's a senior now and started in that big fat 1909 building when she was in kindergarten, first grade, or whatever, it can be done, and all those kids have gotten a wonderful education. Not that it wasn't really fabulous to enter into the beautiful Collicott, shortly thereafter. And for families who have never been through that, there's those of us at the table that had our kids who lived through that and understood what that was like. And I think it's fabulous we've been able to support the current student body with these beautiful schools, and they don't know any different than that. But the trend is the trend, and we're going to have to deal with it. But it might take just might take a, you know, an all hands in and community effort that we will get through it, but it might be a little bit of a, you know, change and transition here and there that's gonna have to happen so that the overcrowding and the safety issues can be dealt with, so, yeah.
All right. So approval of minutes, I'm going to do these individually because some of these conversations, some of these minutes have some substantial conversations, so I want to give members the opportunity to identify any edits that they, you know, substantive edits they would like to make. If you have typographic errors or spelling errors or things like that that you noted but you don't have at your fingertips now, I'm happy to move these approved pending your submission of those to us at a later date. I'd like to thank our recording secretary for getting these all to us in the past few weeks. This has been yeoman's work, and some of these discussions were complicated and not easy to decipher, so thank you very much. So I'm going to move approval of the minutes of our retreat, July 26th.
Second.
Thank you. Second, White. Any discussion?
Yesterday.
All in favor? Unanimous. We're going to move approval of our minutes, August 23.
Second.
Second, White. All in favor? Unanimous. We're going to move approval of our minutes, September 6th.
Second.
Second, White. All in favor? Unanimous. We're going to move approval of our minutes, September 27th.
Second.
White. All in favor? Unanimous. We're going to move approval of our minutes, October 4.
Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. We're going to move approval of our minutes, October 25.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. All right.
Fun to read them last night. Oh, yeah.
Old business? No. Citizen speak topic response, not today. Next meeting agenda items. So we'll go with our standard rotation on the calendar. Our next meeting will be the first week of December. So happy Thanksgiving in advance.
And I think we had moved our diversity
Yes.
report up to that meeting.
Yes. And we should start thinking about when we want to do our big data presentation.
Can I say that the diversity report, that's just our diversity report that
Yes.
Vivo would do, or what?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have that prepared. I'm going to share that with Citizens for Diverse. Milton, they'll come to the meeting, you'll have it pre, and it will be a very brief presentation. It's really turned into almost, if you remember, in your past committees, you've had an end-of-the-year report. Well, the two have almost gelled together. So it's very thorough, all aspects of diversity in the Milton Public Schools.
So if it makes sense to combine that with our data,
Well,
or
I think I might wait till Vivu, our data specialist,
Is back.
is back with us, yes.
I was gonna ask for the data presentation, Dr. Donahue, when are we thinking that MCAS, when do you think, I don't remember from the calendar, when we, because she's gone for a couple of weeks, months,
Right.
2 months, 3 months.
So, but she'll be back at the beginning of the year.
Okay, so do we want to shoot for January
January.
3rd?
Let
Or
me
is
check with her.
okay? Because the other option is the 17th,
Thank you.
when DRA comes. Yes, Member Varela.
I was also wondering if our AD might come in. I don't know if now that it's the conclusion of the fall sports and we're going into winter, but if there's any stats about whether there might have been more kids that signed up because of fee reductions. I mean, just about enrollment in the sports from that would be good. And then the other thing that I know now that I'm a high school sports parent, a lot of people, because you're on the school committee, they think that you know everything about everything. But have asked me about Bay State and about us being a D2 school, and we play against D1 teams, and people don't really kind of
fascinating.
Well, don't really understand the makeup. If maybe
I'll
you could
explain
kind of explain it just for the viewing public, to say like how in the regular season D2 and D1 play, but then what the playoffs are, because there seems to be a lot of parents out there that are unclear about that, and just it might be helpful for just some definition. I just noticed that a lot of people querying me about that, so
Sure.
maybe those two things.
So,
Anything else?
yeah, so I don't recall from our schedule, which I don't have in front of me, it's probably somewhere in my notebook, if policy is on the agenda for December, an update from policy?
I think you would be.
Okay.
You weren't on now.
This, no, it's just fine,
tend
because we
to-
just constantly have updates, sorry.
Right.
But there is, our health and wellness meeting is this Friday, and we need to reapprove a health and wellness policy. There's a mandate and there's a time frame that's associated with it, so
Okay.
it's gone to the principals, it's gone through physical education, Jackie Morgan, Lori Stillman's had a look at it. It'll come back to health and wellness, then it'll pop over to policy, but it'll have to come to the full school committee meeting in a relatively shorter period of time for a full approval.
Okay.
And once we have like a draft, we can sort of send it out after this meeting on Friday, and then you'll have a chance to look at it, so that you'll be prepared, I guess. But I don't remember, I think sometime in December that we're supposed to make an approval.
Okay.
So,
we'll use, if we need to, we'll use our
okay,
expedited
I think that's what Jackie
process,
Morgan
but-
said, that as long as it's in the motion and we're making the changes, we'll be in compliance. Okay, sorry.
All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
No. So I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Wonderful. We're
Let's just stay
adjourned.
for 3 more hours. Come on, let's stay for 3 hours.
Happy Thanksgiving.